The final part of the top 50 NBA players of all time, rankings 10 through 1 today. I'm Coy Camiscioli from Philly Sports Talk here, and if you're new to the podcast, I've already released 4 different episodes breaking down rankings 50 through 11, and I suggest take a listen. There's been some pretty interesting stuff. It is including all basketball players, including pre-merger, but I do understand if you're new to the podcast, again, 10 through 1 is kind of the big debate when you're talking ball, top 10 NBA players of all time. It's kind of what you do. You don't usually go past that, so I get that, but still some cool stuff. But that's besides the point. Without further ado, let's get this going. My criteria throughout the entire series has been based off of legacy, impact, dominance, and then accolades, championships, and more. But again, mainly that legacy and impact and how they kind of changed the game or what they did for the game of basketball. So this is going to be a quick spoiler alert. I'm going to tell you my guys like 11 through 15, just so you know who I have behind my number 10 guy to start this off. Number 11, I have Tim Duncan. Number 12, I have Hakeem Olajuwon. 13, Kevin Durant. 14, Nikola Jokic. 15, Oscar Robertson. And I'll only go back that far. I'll release a whole list on my Instagram later after the series has been finished. So that's my 11 through 15. And we'll just get this going right now. Number 10, I have Larry Bird. One of the most clutch players of all time. Had a lot of flash to him as well. So a really entertaining highlight reel. One of only 3 players to ever win 3 straight MVPs, along with Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. So in a way, he's kind of alone in there because he's obviously the only post-merger guy out of the 3 names I just mentioned. And he really had a big impact in really kind of making the game global. I know MJ was the guy that really made the game global, but he kind of revived the sport between his rivalry with him and Magic Johnson, and that kind of like paved the way for MJ to come around in the late 80s and 90s to do his thing. Extremely smart, tough, trash talker as well, kind of adds a little bit of flair to him. And I don't really factor in post-playing career things, but he's the only person in NBA history to win MVP, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year. So just an overall basketball legend. So he retires a 12-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, 3-time NBA champion, 3-time All-Defense, 2-time Finals MVP, 3-time regular season MVP, Rookie of the Year, and he's really close to being high on this list. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But he averaged 24 points per game in his career, 10 rebounds, 6.3 assists, while shooting 49.6% from the field and 37.6% from 3. So an elite shooter as well. And just looking at his basketball reference page from over his career, in his reign of 3 straight MVPs, in that first year, averaged 24, 10, and 6.5. Second year, 28.7, 10.5, and 6.6. And then that third season, 25.8, 9.8, and 6.8. So some elite shooting numbers all around, while also playing 38 to 39 minutes a game in those 3 seasons. Also shooting close and above 50% in all 3 of those seasons. So I do like Larry Bird here. The 2 guys ahead of him, it might get a little controversial. We're going to talk about eras as well. So I'll warn you now, after Larry Bird, I have my 2 kind of like pre-merger kind of guys, and Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. Very tough players to rank. But again, this is all basketball players of all time. At number 9, I do have Bill Russell. And again, it was tough to rank these players. I told you this is mainly about impact, legacy, dominance, and these guys should deserve to be on the list. Obviously, they do get like comped a little bit from their eras, because if it was basically based on dominance, Wilt Chamberlain would be at number 1. So it's tough, and I do have him over Larry Bird, which I'll get to more in a second. We'll talk about Bill Russell first, because Bill Russell is my number 9. So he's probably the greatest winner in sports history. 11 NBA championships in 13 seasons. Again, it was an earlier time, but it was still impressive. He also won 2 NCAA championships as well, and a gold medal in 1956. So really just one of the greatest winners of all time. One of the first stars to really emphasize like defense and blocks, rebounding, and when, more of those stats were really not made official yet, but still, if they were, his basketball reference page would be looking a lot more juicy than it even does right now. And he's kind of what made the Celtics, made them great. Became the first player coach of the Celtics in 1966, winning 2 more championships in that role, which is kind of weird to think about, and it does kind of like make you consider like a player coach. Like, come on, this is it's earlier on, but still, this is a basketball legend that paved the way for new players coming in, and we all had to start somewhere. So, and the NBA Finals MVP trophy is now named after him. So, 12-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, 11-time NBA champion, 5-time MVP, 4 rebounding titles. He averaged 15.1 points per game, 22.5 rebounds, and 4.3 assists for his career. Very interesting basketball reference page again. When you get those guys that are from the earlier eras, numbers are obviously going to be inflated, but it's going to look really, really interesting. In his MVP year in 65, he averaged 24 rebounds per game while just 14 points, 23 rebounds per game in year 3, 22.7 in year 2, which he won the MVP. Just some crazy numbers as you go up and down the list. So after his rookie year, he averaged 20 rebounds per game until his second to last year. So that's that's from 1958 to 1967. Crazy stuff again. I know that it's an earlier era, but still, you weren't seeing guys do that in that time. So I put Bill Russell there at number 9. If it was based off championships, again, he would be higher, but it is put on dominance. I wanted to put Larry Bird at 9, but I couldn't do it based off my criteria, legacy and dominance. I thought Bill Russell, in my opinion, has him edged a little bit, and I know it's close. I think some people are going to disagree with me, but this is why this is my list. So factoring in those things, that's why I do have Wilt Chamberlain at number 8. I'm going to pull up his basketball reference page because I'm going to talk about that in a second. But it's one of the most ridiculous things you could ever see in sports history. And I wanted to start by saying, the people that don't think his 100-point game was real, it's just stupid. This guy was 7'1", 275 pounds, and had the agility of a guard. So he was way ahead of his time in terms of physicality and just how he looked. And he was also just an athlete. He ran track, had a high jump of 6'6", and had a 40-plus inch vertical. So when you see those things, it's really not hard to believe that Wilt Chamberlain had 100 points in a game. He's arguably the most physically dominating player in sports history, let alone NBA history. And just, he averaged 50.4 points per game in a season. For his career, he averaged 30.1, 22.9, 4.4, all 54% from the field. Now, there is some controversy there because obviously there was the offensive goaltending rules that were changed because of him, because he would steal other players' shots and get points for himself, which, again, it doesn't make it that hard to believe he scored 100 points in a game. Still, 50.4 points per game in a season is just ridiculous. And I genuinely think that this guy would be a player in today's sport, in today's basketball as well. And it's just because of sheer size and athleticism. It's really not that hard to believe. I also don't think the skill gap is as crazy as some people think it is. There obviously is a skill gap there, but some people make it out to be this crazy thing that makes those athletes nowhere near these days' athletes, which there's a gap there. But Wilt Chamberlain was an anomaly for his time. I really do think this guy would be able to play in today's game. This is just crazy. They had to widen the paint to try and contain him. The NBA, inbounding over the backboard, and the offensive goaltending rules, as I mentioned, were changed. The league pretty much had to nerf him for how good he was. That's like the best way I could put it. So he changed the game in terms of those standpoints. And the best way I could say it, it was almost like playing a sport with like your older brother. And you're just like, you can't beat him when you're younger. You're like 9 years old and he's 15 or so. I mean, I don't have an older brother. I had older cousins and stuff that I experienced those things with, and you just can't beat them. That's what Wilt Chamberlain was to these basketball players. He was just like a larger-than-life kind of guy. 13-time All-Star, 7 scoring titles, 11 rebounding titles, 4 MVPs, 2 NBA championships, an assist title later in his career to prove he could kind of do a little bit of everything. 10-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defense, 1 Finals MVP, and a Rookie of the Year. So obviously 9 less championships than Bill Russell, but this is about pure dominance and legacy, and that's why I do have Wilt at number 8 ahead of Bill Russell. And I do think that, while I said Bill Russell and Larry Bird is close, I do think I would have Wilt pretty much over Larry Bird in any of my rankings, no matter how it's ranked. This guy is just ridiculous. And go a little season by season here. Man, it's just crazy to look at, man. The first 6 years of his career, he led the league in scoring, 37.6 points per game in his rookie year. He won 38.4, 50.4, 44.8, 36.9, 34.7. Just insane. He never averaged less than 30 points per game until 1967, and his rookie year was in 1959. Just crazy stuff. And he was also shooting efficiently. In the year that he scored or averaged 50.4 points per game, he was shooting 50.6% from the field. So, again, a lot of rules had to be changed for um, in order for the game of basketball to not allow the offensive goaltending and stuff like that. But still, and he was the original free throw merchant. He led the league in free throws attempted for his first 6 years, all six in double digits. And until 1971, he had more than 10 free throws attempted per game, which is insane. He wasn't a very good free throw shooter, but he was the original free throw merchant. And then to start his career, 27 rebounds per game, 27.2 rebounds per game, 25.7, 24.3. He could just do anything physically dominated in the sport. Wilt Chamberlain was doing to these guys, and that's why at number 8, I don't even think it's close. Obviously, it gets docked for the era a little bit because my number 7, I'll get into that in a second, was insanely dominant, probably the most dominant player of all time, and in a more modern era. So, spoiler, my number 7 is Shaquille O'Neal. But Wilt Chamberlain, I do like this ranking here at number 8. So, we'll talk about Shaq now. He's kind of similar to Wilt, just dominated in a different time. 7'1", 325 pounds, so he has a good 40 or so pounds on Wilt Chamberlain, with unreal strength, and the numbers do tell the story, which I'll get into in a second. Obviously, he couldn't shoot, but it didn't matter because there was no answer for Shaquille O'Neal until the hack of Shaq to put him on the free throw line. He was a part of the early 2000s Lakers dynasty, winning 3 straight titles and also 3 straight Finals MVPs over Kobe Bryant as well. Very interesting dynamic between him and Kobe Bryant. The better the two got together, the more kind of hatred there was. But the more they won, it was kind of a weird thing. It was a really weird relationship. But they were exact opposite people. Obviously, Kobe Bryant with his mentality was not the same as Shaq. Doesn't mean Shaq was, there's a reason why he's top 10 basketball players of all time. But again, exact opposites of people. In Shaq's prime, he was averaging 29.7 points per game, 13.6 rebounds, and 3.8 assists off of 57% from the field. Just an overall, all-around dominant player. Led the league in scoring 2 times. One of them in his MVP year in 1999 and 2000, averaging 29.7 points per game. He saw free throws attempted of over 10 plus for a good 7 or so years span, which was his issue, as he lingered in the 50 percentile for a long time. They get up to 62% at one point in his career in 2003, but he didn't need to shoot. There was just no answer for Shaq, and his career field goal percentage was 58.2%, with the three-point percentage of 4.5 and a free throw percentage of 52.7%. So that means guys like me and probably you were better shooters than Shaquille O'Neal, but there's a lot of things that we cannot do that Shaquille O'Neal could do. So, number 7 for Shaq, insanely dominant basketball player. Really weird dynamic between him and Kobe, but he stole those Finals MVPs. Actually, I wouldn't say stole, but he won them over Kobe Bryant. So I have Shaq at number 7. Number 6, we're getting another Laker, and this is where things are going to get controversial. I know I keep saying that word, but I have Magic Johnson at 6, which means Steph Curry is obviously above him. I might be a new gen putting Curry over Magic Johnson, but that's just my opinion. If Magic Johnson didn't have his medical situation and didn't have to retire in his prime, I think things may have been different. When he retired, he was coming off second place in the MVP that year and 3 MVPs in 5 years total. So actually, completely in his prime. But we'll get away from what could have been. At 6'9", he changed the game for point guards because of how skilled he was as a playmaker. He won a championship and the Finals MVP as a rookie in 1980. He played in 9 NBA Finals in 12 seasons, winning 5 championships and 3 Finals MVPs, and was the front and center of these Showtime Lakers. I know I talked about how his rivalry with Larry Bird kind of carried the sport in that time period, so obviously Magic played a massive part in that, and was only 32 years old when he retired again. Such a shame, the circumstances, obviously, because who knows what his resume could have looked like. I mean, there's a chance this guy could have been in the top 3 conversation which for me, he's just not. He's at 6 for a reason. But a 12-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, 5-time champion, 3-time Finals MVP, 4 assist titles, 2 steal titles, 3-time regular season MVP. Again, it was tough to put Magic at 6, and maybe it's because I grew up watching Curry. A lot of people are going to be biased to, who they saw and who they watched play. I never watched Magic Johnson play basketball, but I have watched a lot of Steph Curry, and I'll get to Curry in a second. But Magic Johnson, if you're going by the most like best traditional point guards of all time, Magic Johnson is your guy. But I'm just going to get into Steph Curry right away here, as I have him at number 5. I originally had him at number 4, but I will get into that in a minute. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, and he completely changed the game with the way he shot. The transition to the three-point basket is because of Steph Curry. It's not even close of him being. There's no debate of who the greatest shooter of all time is. It is Steph Curry, and for me, that's why I have him at 5. A lot of people don't have him as high as 5, and again, I originally had him at 4, but I'll get into that in a little while, which is kind of crazy to me. He still has the potential to get to that number 4 spot, but it's probably going to take another rain or some crazy stats or three-pointers or whatever, maybe a crazy regular season MVP, which I don't think we're going to see any of those things anymore from Curry. But you never know. Most three-pointers made in NBA history. One of the guys that got me into basketball. Limitless range makes it so fun to watch. 2-time MVP, the first unanimous MVP in NBA history, which is wild. Again, unanimous MVP, which is insanely hard to do. 4-time NBA champion, 2 of those titles with Kevin Durant, obviously, but that 2022 reign was awesome against the Celtics. Kind of proved that he didn't, he could use KD, but he could do it by himself a little bit. And he obviously wasn't by himself, but he was the main focal point of that Warriors team, which he always was, but he was the main guy. That was his first time winning Finals MVP out of his 4 reigns. And I thought the Celtics were going to win that NBA Finals. They were kind of undersized, but Steph Curry was so good in that series, and they won the 4th reign of their dynasty, and Curry won the Finals MVP. So, averaging 42.3% from 3 for his career. So not only is he chucking up a lot of threes, and is the all-time leader in three-pointers, he also has an elite three-point percentage. 11-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, 4-time NBA champ, 2-time MVP, 1 Western Conference Finals MVP, 1 Finals MVP, 2 All-Star Game MVPs, 2 scoring titles, and a steals title. If your criteria is more based off accolades and the traditional point guard, as I already mentioned, I think Magic is your guy. But for the criteria I've used for this whole series, I don't see how I can put Magic over Steph Curry in my eyes. And that unanimous MVP season also plays a big help. He averaged 30 points per game, 30.1 to be exact. 5.4 rebounds and 6.7 assists while shooting 45.4% from 3. And he was attempting 11.2 threes a game, by the way, which is just insane. 45.4% from the field would be a good shooting percentage on the season. That was the shooting percentage from 3. Ridiculous. Steph Curry, probably one of my favorite definitely one of my favorite basketball players of all time. And at number 5, I just had it, just legacy, dominance, and how he changed the game, and there's no denying, how he impacted the game in those 3 aspects of things. That's why I had him over Magic Johnson. Again, if Magic didn't have to retire soon, maybe things would have been different, but that's why I have Steph Curry at 5. So, getting into my number 4, and I originally had Curry over this guy at 4, but I couldn't do it. Number 4 is Kobe Bryant. I think I had too much recency bias on Curry when I originally had him at 4, and when I really thought about my criteria again, Kobe Bryant, legacy, and impact on the game, he's at number 4. Just an absolute icon of the game. Rest in peace, by the way. It is close. I value Curry as the greatest shooter of all time for a reason. That really does matter to me. But all time, it's still Kobe Bryant. One of the most tragic deaths in sports history, by the way, but that is not why he is here by any means. He created the Mamba mentality. And if you are an athlete, especially in college, you realize how difficult, how much work, how much the work he put in was. And you hear stories of him getting up at 4 a.m. to practice and stuff like that. It's just an insane work ethic. I play a Division III sport, and the things that he does is just insane to think about at the highest level in professional sports. So his three-peat in the early 2000s with Shaq, even though Shaq won those Finals MVPs, was electric. It was a cool thing for the sport, despite the beating the Sixers in 2001. I mean, I'm a Sixers fan, but I wasn't around then anyways. He did get two more rings and two Finals MVPs in 2009 and 2010 without Shaquille O'Neal, which was big time for his legacy. He proved he could do it without him. Second most points in an NBA game in history with 81. Also scored 60 points in the final game of his career, which is pretty cool, for a grand total of 33,463 points in his NBA career. And what also made him so great was his defense. Not many of the guys I've been talking about here had as good as defense as Kobe Bryant did, and it's backed by 12 all-defensive teams. So overall, just a relentless competitor. 18-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA, 5-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, 1 regular season MVP, 2 scoring titles, 4 All-Star Game MVPs, so he even took those seriously, and averaged 35.4 points per game in the 2005 and 6 season. I just thought that was a noteworthy year to point out. So, a pretty cool, one of the greatest basketball players of all time in Kobe Bryant. I don't think he's any higher than 4. I think some people put him higher than 4. They factor in his mentality and stuff like that, but I thought 4 is a really good ranking here for Kobe Bryant. We are now getting into the top 3 NBA players of all time. In my opinion, this is a lock for these top 3. Not the order, but these top 3 are a lock. And number 3, right away, I'll get into it, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The NBA scoring came for 39 years before LeBron James finally passed him a couple years ago. 38,387 career points, which again is now second of all time. And I thought this was really interesting. I looked this up. It's not official how many points he scored off the skyhook, but they estimate around 75% of his career points was from the skyhook, which would mean that 28,000 of his points are from the skyhook, which is insane. It would have been completely unguardable even in today's NBA, which is really cool to think about. Most MVPs in history was 6. He could do everything. He played 20 years, being an All-Star 19 times. Again, excellent on both sides. 6-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP. He does not get talked enough in these discussions because he really could do it all. And I think the centers do take a little, the centers are not the most glamorous position, and there's a reason why you don't see him higher than 3 on this list. Is obviously you usually have LeBron and Jordan. It's kind of like the traditional small forward or even shooting guard kind of player. Maybe a little bit of a point guard in LeBron James. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar absolutely deserves to be here. Again, that skyhook was magnificent. It's actually pretty fun to watch. Probably the most unguardable shot in NBA history, and it's backed by how many points he scored with it. And it's just insane to think about that 75% of his shot or points could have came from the skyhook. Again, it's not 1,000 or 100% as these are only estimates, but still. He dominated in the pre-merger and then thrived just as much after the merge, even turning into a solid vet deep into his career, again playing 20 seasons. 19-time All-Star, or 15-time All-NBA, 6-time NBA champ, 2-time Finals MVP, 6-time regular season MVP, 11-time All-Defense, 2 scoring titles, 4 block titles, 1 rebounding title, and he won the Rookie of the Year. I mean, that's just a ridiculous basketball reference page. And there's a chance that you could even discuss him. No, I was about to say you could discuss him as number 1. But just insane to think about. And in a couple of his MVP years, in year 3 of his career, he averaged 34.8 points per game. Year 2, which he also won MVP, 31.7 points per game. 16.9 rebounds per game in the year he won MVP in 76. Just ridiculous numbers. And a great defender or rim defender, 3.3 blocks, 4.1 blocks, 4 blocks, 3.4 blocks. Those are all of his blocks per game in the years that he won block titles. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, honestly, he doesn't get talked enough in these discussions for how good he really was. So, but that is my number 3. And as we get into number 1 and 2, obviously this is the big one, the big debate. Who's the GOAT of the sport? Who's sitting at number 2? If these 2 aren't your top 2 players of all time, you're probably biased. I'm just going to tell you that straight up. I will say, I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I really don't. I think you could go either or. But based off my criteria and what I've been doing for this whole series, I do have LeBron James at 2. Not on my GOAT. If you thought I was going to put him on my GOAT, I don't. But I just don't think it's crazy to have him as your GOAT, and it's still not over yet. I think the Lakers are a really good team this year. And they obviously just extended Luka Doncic. They've done a great job this offseason. If they win a championship, maybe a little bit more for LeBron James to add to that legacy, and he might be number one. But as of now, I do have him at number two. I thought about this for a while. It was really tough. LeBron, only player in NBA history, 30 plus thousand points, 10 plus thousand assists, and 10 plus thousand rebounds. We will start by talking about he has the heaviest reign in sports history. Cavs come back from down 3-1 against the Warriors in 2016. The Warriors were 73-9 that year, and LeBron James was ridiculous that whole series. Well, in the back end of that series, the whole series honestly led both teams that series in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Some of the greatest performances of all time. Averaged 29.7 points per game, 11.3 rebounds, and 8.9 assists in that series. He dropped 41 in games 5 and 6, and then recorded a triple-double in game 7. Legendary performances. One of the most entertaining sports series of all time out of any sport. And if it wasn't for the Warriors dynasty, LeBron might already be here at number one. But, that's just how sports work. I've discussed this whole series about players running into Celtics dynasties, Lakers dynasties, Bulls dynasties. It's just how it is. It sucks, but it's part of the sport. He's played 21 seasons so far at an elite or higher level, which is crazy to think about because he really hasn't regressed. And most points in NBA history, leads NBA all-time in minutes and playoff points as well. Those things matter. Unreal that he could live up to the hype that he had coming out of high school as well. His mentality and MJ's are a little different, but not in a bad way. So, based on my criteria, LeBron James is here. 21-time All-Star, 21-time All-NBA, 4-time NBA champion, 4-time Finals MVP, 4-time regular season MVP, 6-time All-Defense, 1 scoring title, 1 assist title, and he won the Rookie of the Year. LeBron James is at number 2, and it's only because Michael Jordan is at number 1. Michael Jordan is what made basketball in the 90s. Was an absolute icon. I do like this quote. Before Jordan, the NBA was American. After Jordan, the NBA was global. And it's true. Just by the things you've seen and watched, obviously, I didn't grow up watching Michael Jordan play basketball, but I've seen the Last Dance documentary. I've talked a lot of ball with a lot of people that have watched basketball their whole lives. He doesn't have the longevity that Bron had, but Michael Jordan has the greatest prime of all time, in my opinion. Through a 10-year span, he led the league in scoring for 10 straight seasons. He won 5 MVPs, 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, and 2 three-peats. Obviously, he had that 2-year gap in between, which who knows what he did, but he pursued minor league baseball. Just a greater legacy for me, and that's why I had him at number 1. He's the reason basketball is what it is today. Seriously. He never went into a Game 7 in the NBA Finals, and he did face some good comp. He didn't have to go against the Warriors dynasty, but it's not like he didn't face any bad comp. He faced Charles Barkley, Moses Malone, John Stockton, Clyde Drexler, Shawn Kemp, Magic Johnson, and James Worthy. Some of those guys, obviously, not in their entire primes, but it doesn't matter. It's the 90s championships. I factor guys winning championships in the 80s very highly. In the 90s, it makes it the same. Seriously. One of the most complete athletes ever, known for things like the shot, the flu game, the last shot, the supposed push off against the Jazz. I don't think it was a push off. You see a lot of people have that arm extend a little bit, maybe a little push, but the defender did not have his feet in a good spot and probably just slipped, and that's why he fell. But regardless, Michael Jordan, he averaged 30.1 points per game, which is the highest ever amongst retired players. That is for his career. And again, the whole scandal of betting and stuff like that for his mid-career retirement, I don't really care that much because he didn't get suspended. He didn't get banned from the NBA. He completed 2 three-peats, even coming back to the Bulls. So I would have liked to see an MJ and Olajuwon finals in their prime, but I do think the Bulls would have won. So it's just something to look at. 14-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, 6-time NBA champion, 6-time Finals MVP, 10 scoring titles, a Defensive Player of the Year award, 3 steals titles, 9-time All-Defense, Rookie of the Year, and a 5-time regular season MVP. So he did it all on both sides of the court. It's a tough ranking. I could have seen it going here or there, but Michael Jordan is the number 1 for me and is the go-to basketball for now. LeBron James still has time. So that is going to cap this series off. It was really fun. Again, if you want to just listen to some basketball, go back and listen to the previous podcast. This has been a fun series. A lot of good talks, a lot of good debates going on. So I'll probably make a post of my full top 50 NBA players of all time rankings on like Twitter and Instagram. So stay tuned on those. But again, I really enjoyed this. I hope you guys did too. Leave any comments with things you would have changed, what you liked about it, and what else you think about the series. So thank you guys for listening.